Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Buddha, please save me. Every word bursting from N's mouth was filled with panic and desperation. This was no longer the calm recitation of Buddha's name from a peaceful mind, but a terrified scream born from extreme fear. At that moment, N could only place her hope in the Buddha, praying for deliverance from a horrifying electric shock. Neither her family nor the entire village could ever forget this incident. They considered it a once-in-a-lifetime miracle, something truly extraordinary and wondrous. N herself believed that if not for the grace of the triple gem, she would probably already be lying peacefully in a grave somewhere beneath the village grass. Her full name is NTNN, born in 1992, with the Dharma name NH. Her family lived in CL District, KH Province. Their house stood right beside a canal. Whenever N stood against the outer wall, the canal water would often rise high enough to soak her feet. The house had grown old over time, and its electrical and water systems were crude and dangerous. Her parents had installed everything carelessly, one could even say recklessly. Every morning, N woke up early to wash clothes for the family. Because the electrical wiring in the house was tangled and messy, using it required many manual steps. To wash clothes, she first had to start the water pump motor, clear the air from the hose, then adjust the electrical wire connected to the motor before water could flow. The motor's outlet and electrical wires were exposed outside along the wall, right beside the canal. When it rained, the socket became wet. When sunny, it dried again. The wire had no proper plug. Whenever they needed electricity, they simply held the two exposed copper wire ends and shoved them directly into the socket holes, whether dry or damp. Right above that spot stood a high-voltage electric pole, and directly below flowed the canal water. Just hearing about such a setup was chilling. Anyone could easily imagine sudden electrocution happening at any moment. And eventually, disaster struck. One day, N followed the usual routine to wash clothes. But this time, luck abandoned her. The copper wire ends had become worn out and could no longer connect properly. She hurried inside, grabbed a knife, and scraped away more plastic insulation so additional copper would be exposed and fit into the outlet. In her rush, she forgot to switch off the main power. Barefoot, she stepped into the shallow canal water. One hand held the knife, while the other gripped the exposed copper wire directly. A violent surge of electricity shot through her body from her hand downward, causing her to convulse violently while trapping her in the current. Though she desperately tried to release the wire, it felt as if a magnet held her firmly in place. Her entire body became numb and stiff. The pain intensified, and she felt as though her consciousness was floating and separating from her body. Strangely enough, people who suffer electric shock usually die if not rescued immediately, or barely survive even when saved in time. Yet despite her terror and panic, N remained fully conscious, clearly aware of what was happening. Fear overwhelmed her. She screamed desperately for help from anyone nearby. But cruelly, although many people usually passed by the canal every day, not a single person appeared that day. N fell into despair, convinced death was certain and her life had come to an end. Then suddenly, she looked up into the clear blue sky toward the west and remembered Amitabha Buddha. Perhaps because she was a devoted Buddhist who deeply revered the triple gem, thoughts of the Buddha naturally arose in her moment of danger. Overcome with emotion, she cried out with all her strength, as though tearing through the very sky itself. Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha. Buddha, please save me. It was a desperate cry for salvation, woven together with heartfelt Buddha recitation from a young woman standing at death's door. That sincerity became like a thread connecting to the compassion of the enlightened beings, rescuing her from death at the final moment. Miraculously, before she could even complete 3 recitations spoken with utmost reverence and desperation, the powerful electric current that had been violently gripping her suddenly stopped for no understandable reason. Her body was released and fell straight into the canal, stiff as a wooden log, yet she felt no pain at all. She splashed heavily into the water, sending it spraying everywhere. The terrifying electric wire also dropped into the canal beside her. Panicked, N realized that water conducts electricity and she could be electrocuted again. But perhaps the fuse had blown when the wire touched the water, because there was no more current. A narrow escape. Moments later, her father rushed out of the house like lightning after realizing she had been electrocuted. Before reaching the canal, he quickly shut off the main breaker, then carried N back into the house while ordering the family to urgently call Dr. T. Neighbors soon crowded around to see what had happened. Everyone expected the girl to be blue-faced, unconscious, or critically injured, surely requiring emergency treatment. Yet astonishingly, N seemed completely unharmed. She breathed normally, her skin color remained unchanged, and she no longer felt any pain whatsoever. The only mark was a tiny dent on the finger where the copper wire had touched her skin. Strangely, even that wound caused absolutely no pain, no matter how much she touched or pressed it. Everyone present, including the doctor, found it unbelievable. It was something they had never witnessed before. Before anyone could make sense of the event, Mrs. S. from next door suddenly cried out loudly as she hurried over. "Last night I dreamed that my grandson was electrocuted to death at the exact same spot where N got shocked today. I was worried sick all day, watching over him carefully. Who would have thought those screams earlier were from N? I heard crying for so long but didn't know where it came from. Thank heavens and Buddha she's all right." When Mrs. S. uttered the words, "Thank heavens and Buddha," N lay quietly, still trying to recover herself emotionally. Deep inside, she knew it was truly the enlightened beings who had saved her from death. Her heart overflowed with immense gratitude toward Amitabha Buddha. "Namo Amitabha Buddha, you saved me."